I will do small chanting before that, and then I will give instructions. As I give instructions, you just practice according to them. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno. Sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisadamma sarathi. Sattha deva manusanang buddho bhagavati. Namo tassa samma sambuddhassa. Svakhato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko yehi passiko. Opanaiko pacchattam veditabbo vinyuhiti. Namo tassa niyanikassa dhammassa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Vujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Samicipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Yadidang chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggalaye sa bhagavato savaka sangho. Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakhineyo anjali karaniyo. Anuttarang punyakhetang lokasati. Namo tassa atta arya puggala mahasanghassa. Yevam buddhang sarantanang dhammang sanghang cha bhikkhavo. Bhayang vacham bhitattang valo mahangso nahesati. Yetena sacca vajjena sothite hotu sabbada. Yetena sacca vajjena sabba dukkha vinasatu. Yetena sacca vajjena sabba bhaya vinasatu. Yetena sacca vajjena sabba roga vinasatu. Yetena sacca vajjena hotu te jaya mangalam. Yetena sacca vajjena patu te ratanatayam. Sit comfortably. Place your feet firmly on the floor if possible. Keep your back comfortably straight. Keep your head comfortably balanced. Gently close your eyes. Smile. Just smile and feel joyful. Relax your body and relax your mind. Relaxing the body means to make the body lighter, lighter, looser, looser, without any stiffness anywhere in your neck area, shoulder area, in your upper back, lower back, or in your legs or in your arms. Just feel relaxed. Smile and feel joyful. I am relaxed. relax the mind. Relaxing the mind is to just let go. Tell to yourself, oh, let go everything of the past. Let go everything of the future. Let go everything about the present around. For these few minutes, let me enjoy freedom here and now. Now focus your mind to your abdomen. If you observe carefully, when you breathe in, the abdomen rises. When you breathe out, the abdomen falls. This rising and falling because of in-breath and out-breath is going on since our birth. A beautiful activity of our life is going on. And now let us observe this breath, this rise and fall. When there is rise, just be aware, rising, rising, rising. And when you breathe out, the whole abdomen or even chest area falling, falling, falling. In whatever way you are feeling it, the expansion and contraction of your abdomen, just observe. Rise, fall, rise, fall. The mind wanders here and there. Just smile, become aware, and bring your attention back to your abdomen. Again, after some time, the mind wanders. Bring your attention back again and again and again. This is the practice. Be patient and be joyful. Only joyful mind can do meditation. And joy you can create here and now. Smile and feel, I am joyful. I am here with my breath. So I am joyful. I am here giving my time for observing the reality of this moment. So I am joyful. Sitting with such wonderful people and meditating together, I am joyful. When you watch every rise and fall, that means every in-breath and out-breath, you are watching the reality of this moment. It is not imaginative. It is not a concept. It is what is happening now. in this moment. Just observe. And you don't change the breath. Let it be normal breathing. You don't make it fast or slow, long or short. If it is too slow and if you are not able to concentrate, you can slightly increase and take a little bit deeper breaths, but otherwise be with natural breath. Whenever necessary, maybe 3, 4 or 5 little deeper breaths. Otherwise just watch and feel this rise and fall. Bring your attention again and again back to your breathing. Try to observe every breath. Not only every breath, try to observe each breath completely. That means when you start breathing in, the process of expansion starts. So be aware of that beginning. Oh, now it has started. And as you are breathing in, the expansion is going on, expanding. So be aware of that process, expanding, rising. And at one moment it stops. When the breath is stopped, the rising process, expansion process also stops. Be aware. It is now stopped. Out breath begins. Be aware of the beginning. Falling, 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 and it stops. You know it. Just know it. Do nothing else. You are just aware. You are witness to what is happening. That's all. It is the practice of doing nothing. Just be aware. Don't forget to be joyful, smile, relaxed, body relaxed, mind relaxed. Your forehead is relaxed, eyes are relaxed. Enjoy every breath. Every breath is so precious breath. Every breath comes only once in our lifetime. So precious. Just observe, feel it, enjoy it, live it. Whatever thought comes, good thought, bad thought, neutral thought, just let go. Just let go now. Now my job is to watch the breath and nothing else. So come back again and again without any disappointment, without any frustration, impatience, nothing. Mind has wandered, and you came to know about it. So that is the truth. In any case, you have seen the truth. Mind has wandered, and you bring it back to breathing. And you start observing the breath. That is the truth again. Not too long. But anyway, when you are learning, it should be okay. When you are practice, it is up to you. We did two kinds of meditations. One is meditation on breathing, observing the rising and falling of our abdomen. And the other one is Maitri meditation, giving love to all beings. Do you have any questions on this meditation? If you have questions, then we can finish that, and later on I will tell something about
Swamiji, I have a question. Is it essential that you have to be in one fixed position without moving when you meditate? Is always as
no. You don't need to be in a single position. First, you are watching the breath, okay? And say your legs are paining, your knees are paining. So mind goes there.
Yes.
Become aware. Now my mind has gone to the pain. It is observing pain. Let it be, let go, and come back to breathing. And after some time, it will go again. So bring it back again. It will go again. So 3-4 times you bring it back. If the pain becomes too much, then you can focus your attention. Okay, now instead of this rise and fall of abdomen, let me focus on this pain. So focus your attention, pain, pain. Feel it without hating, without any kind of judgment. Try to feel, okay, this is pain. What exactly is this? What exactly it means? So let me feel it. We don't care to feel our pains. So now you just watch pain, pain, pain. Feel it very closely, how it is coming, how it is passing, what exactly is happening in that part of the body. You will see some kind of vibration in that pain. And if you observe very calmly, objectively, you will see that the pain reduces, and it goes. So you try it out. If it goes, fine. If it doesn't goes, fine. Then you can change your posture. Just to avoid that pain and distraction, you can change the posture. But then that also you have to do mindfully with meditation. How do you do that? Okay, now I am going to change my posture. I am going to move my leg. So you are aware of that thought. Now I am lifting, moving. Be aware how you are moving. And after you finished the movement, I have finished. So now let me go back to breathing. So what happened is, your object from abdomen has been changed to your leg, the movement of the leg, and then again you came back. So the objects changed, but the mindfulness continued. So mindfulness practice is continued. So that means even when you changed your posture, you didn't stop your meditation. So that continuation of mindfulness, awareness is what we have to practice. And that we have to bring into our day-to-day life. So what we practice here, we have to bring in daily life. Then we should be aware of what we are doing. If we are cleaning, be aware of that, how I am cleaning, how I am lifting, how I am holding, how I am moving my hands or body. At least one major part of the body, you be aware. That's good enough. Or cooking, or walking, or gardening, or bathing, or brushing. Anything, any activity. That mindfulness, Jagrita Bhava, has to run throughout our life. That is our aim of meditation. Meditation is not just when we are sitting and closing our eyes, no. It has to spread. Meditation is to know what is happening in our body, what is happening in our mind. And this body and mind makes our being as a human being, which we call I or whatever. We are made up of this mind and body. And we should know what is happening with our mind and body. That is called mindfulness. If you are aware of the body movements, that is fine. If you are aware of something you are feeling in the body, that is also reality. So that is fine. If you are aware of the thoughts, that is fine. Because these are the facts, realities of this moment. And you are aware of that. No need that you should be aware of everything. You can't be. But even one aspect, if you are aware, that is good enough, then you are with reality. So that is from falsehood, illusion, delusion, conceptual life, we move towards reality. More and more reality. That is the aim of mindfulness practice.
How Vipassana is also a part of Buddhist kind of meditation.
Yes.
So how does this differ what we did just now?
It is not different.
Sorry.
Lord Buddha taught many kinds of meditations, especially 40 kinds of meditational techniques. We will go through some of them, so it is helpful for what purpose we do. So this is also Vipassana. Vipassana is what? To know the reality of this moment with body and mind, what is happening. That's all. Vipassana. Passana means to see. Vi means deeply according to the reality. That's all, Vipassana. So in the Vipassana you are referring to this Goenkaji's 10-day course. There you are watching the sensations. So that is also reality. Lord Buddha has taught the main sutra, main discourse on meditation. There the 4 objects are mentioned. One is body, one is sensation, one is mind, and the last one is mental objects. So all the 4 are important. So sensation is one of the 4. So some people give emphasis on body, some people give emphasis on sensations, what we feel. Some people give emphasis on the mind, what is happening in the mind, and some on mental objects, depending on different teachers and practices and teachings. But ultimately, we have to understand all the 4. Then we are watching, we are knowing, we are understanding our entire being. So all the 4, you pull one finger, just like all the 4 other fingers come. Similarly, you start watching the body, you start watching feeling, sensations, or mind objects. You start watching, feeling, you are watching body and mind. So they are all interconnected. So this is called Satipatthana meditation. And what Vipassana is taught by Goenkaji is also similar. The emphasis is on sensation. So as we watch, for example, rise, fall, what is that exactly? We are watching sensation. And you are watching. Then whole body you will start feeling breathing. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Whole body. And then you will start feeling every cell of the body is breathing, changing. So, Anitya. You will start understanding Anitya Bhava. Any question?
Yeah. Let's say if you are doing something as a duty, something which you don't like, for example, washing the dishes, just a crude example, you know. So at that time, what do you think, how do you, like you are aware of that?
Yes.
What you don't like it.
Yes.
So how do you take that as a meditation? Or?
Yes. Now, for example, you want to wash the dishes and then you feel, no, I don't want to do it. Example. but it has to be done.
Yes.
So, first of all, tell yourself, okay, this is the work, this is the duty that I have to do. Now, instead of disliking, I will start liking it. Tell yourself, I like to do this. I like to do this. Why should I hate it? It is also important work. It is also needed for my life, my family. You tell yourself, why should I hate? And you tell yourself, by washing the dish, I can become enlightened. Dish meditation can lead you up to enlightenment if you are really correctly mindful of that. So why should I be so selective, choosy? I like this, I don't like this. Why should I think? You question yourself, why I am hating this? When you question yourself and watch your mind very objectively, then you will see, oh, what nonsense I am doing. Why I am creating suffering. I don't need to do that. Just enjoy such a wonderful thing. So like that, you can apply that to all kinds of your responsibilities. Sometimes you may like, sometimes you may not like. Even those which you like, let them also go under your scanning of mindfulness, scanning of awareness. Those which you don't like, that also you scan. Okay, mindfully you do it, enjoy. Joy is something that you don't need to wait. You can create. Create it. I can be joyful. I am joyful. So what is, you are not going to lose anything. It is not far away, it is there only. So when you see the realities more and more clearly, then joy arises even more deeply. You just practice.
Swamiji, are there?
Yes.
Most of the times what we like is we are good at it. If we are not good at it, the general attitude is I don't like it.
Mm.
How do we overcome this burden of, only if I am good I want to do, or I don't want to do otherwise?
Yes, this again you have to watch your mind and tell why, okay, this is the task I have taken which I don't know or I am not good. Now you tell yourself, this is a skill, this is the work, now I can learn and add to my skill bank. Why should I not add one more skill? After all, life is learning. Why should I not add it? Let me do it. I will do with joy. So, that which you don't like, even that you will start liking when you value it. Okay, this is so valuable. This is good for me, good for everybody. Let me do it. Let me learn it. Even if I fall down 10 times, I will learn it. You give auto-suggestion and also mindfully. Love your mind. We should love ourselves, our own mind, because dissatisfaction means what? Something you don't like inside. But there are so many good things inside. So change it. And when you change it, in the process, you are strengthening the mind also. Say you are disliking this, but now you start working with it, and changing the mind. You are not only changing the mind, but you are empowering the mind to overcome bigger challenges, bigger difficulties. So in that sense, the challenge that has come is a blessing because it has empowered you, it made you more powerful. Huh? So not all problems are problems. Problems are blessings. or you turn problems into blessings. That is possible.
Good question, Swami. One of the difficulties, you talked about Maitri meditation.
Yeah.
One part where you came to the point of thinking about people you hate.
Yes.
Okay? I think that for most people to turn a good heart towards people you don't like for some reasons you totally justify, that's very hard. So how does meditation help develop that?
This is a matter of practice. Now today we did one time, okay? And maybe when I told you to visualize somebody whom you hate, maybe it was difficult. You do it again. Every day, morning, evening, 2 times you do this Maitri meditation. And as you do again and again, if it is really difficult, okay, you keep aside for a few days, say 1 week, 2 weeks. Don't take that section of people whom you don't like, disliked people. When your Maitri becomes stronger and stronger, then you bring them. So let it just thrash it, that barrier, and go ahead with giving Maitri. And it is possible. It will break. And then you contemplate, okay, this person I hate. Why do I hate? Okay, this person has done me this wrong or that wrong. Now, contemplate, oh, in life, everybody make mistakes. Everybody has some problems, weakness. So now this person has done some mistake. And that he has done not out of wisdom. He has done out of either greed or hatred or ignorance. One of the 3. So this poor fellow has been the victim of either greed, hatred or ignorance, which means sickness. These are diseases. Now if you see a person on the road where he is run over by a car and his legs are cut and he is bleeding, and you are looking at him, what do you feel? Are you going to say, you stupid fellow, don't you understand this and that? Do you want to think like that? Or you want to rush him to the hospital? Rush him to the hospital. Why? Why?
He's having pain.
He is having pain and you are feeling that pain. And that is why. So now, this person, if somebody has done harm, who has done with greed, hatred or ignorance, he is a sick person. Greed is a big disease, hatred is big disease, and ignorance is the biggest disease. Much more serious than cancer or AIDS or heart attack or brain stroke or anything. Those sicknesses come to the body and we can manage. But these sicknesses will take us from life to life, life to life, life to life in the wheel of suffering. If a cancer comes, it comes once. But this greed, hate, ignorance, they bring us suffering 100 times, 1,000 times. So now if you understand this way, now what is needed? Does he need compassion or your hatred? He needs even more compassion. So look it from that point of view and say, oh, may this person be free from greed or hatred or ignorance. May this person grow in wisdom. So like that you have positive thoughts. You may say, oh, that person may still harm me. That is his problem. It's not your problem. If that person is harming, try to explain and save that person. If that, of course, you have to insulate yourself. Don't allow that person to harm you. At the same time, the approach towards that person should be that of compassion and positive response.
Swami, you spoke about being joyful. So, in that context, one of my friends on Facebook had shared a good quote saying that there are only two types of events in life: blessings and blessings in disguise. So, when you want to start being joyful, right? I mean, when do you start? Is it like tomorrow morning I wake up and say I'm joyful? Or, I personally sometimes feel that maybe something like, earth-shattering needs to happen for me to get into that plane. There. From that point onwards, I'm always joyful. Because every day, something happens and again you're back to the old self. You try again, you're back to the old self. So, how do you break out of the cycle and get into that mode like you're always joyful?
You see, to be joyful, you don't need, first of all, anything. It has to start in this moment. Not that you have to wait till you reach one level and then you start being joyful. No. You start now. Even without any reason, you can be joyful. Okay, let me be joyful. Why should I need a reason? Unconditional joy. Why should I not enjoy that? Just feel joy. If it is difficult, then okay. See so many positive things you have got. You are with quite good health, good mind. There are so many people who are suffering. From childhood they are suffering. Sickness or this or that or accident or so many things can happen. That didn't happen to me. I am fine. One reason is good enough to be joyful. You have a good place to live, good food to eat, everything, so beautiful conditions around you. So why not be joyful? And you have a work to do. Okay, you have to do it again and again. When I do it joyfully, then I have chance to do it joyfully again and again and enjoy it. So you can be joyful. Enjoy doing everything. And just wish, may all beings be happy. May I be, as much as possible, blessing to other beings. Just feel it. And may others be blessing to me. And feel gratitude. You can enjoy gratitude.
Swamiji, how do you feel joyful when you are, let's say, struck by some severe misfortune in life? It's not, I'm not talking about necessarily money or
Yes.
material thing, emotional thing.
Yes.
There are two problems here. One is it's the sheer inability to feel joyful.
Yes.
The second one, if you overcome the inability and try to feel joyful, you also tend to have a subtle sense of guilt, saying that, am I doing the right thing by being joyful when this misfortune has happened to me? How do you deal with this situation?
You see, first of all, when there is some very unpleasant event that has happened, now naturally we feel sad about it. Feeling sad is nothing wrong. You don't need to suppress it. But start understanding it. This sadness is there. This sadness is there. Why? Because of my attachment. All sadness things or depressions, they start from attachments. So this is because of attachment. Now what do you wish for yourself or others? You wish happiness. So now if I am in this state all the time, that is not healthy for me, not healthy for others. isn't it? So, we are all conditioned. We are all dependent on so many things. If I am existing here, sitting here today means so many conditions have come together. I am healthy, I am able to travel. Somebody has organized, somebody has made this arrangement and invited, fixed the time, announced, so we are all together. And I could sit here and talk. So just this one event is because of so many conditions. Like that, in our life, everything is so much conditioned. Hundreds and thousands of conditions. They are conditioning each event to happen or not to happen. This is the word of conditionality. Okay? So now you say, okay, because of conditions, this event has happened, which is unpleasant. When I speak about conditions, there are many conditions, including karmic conditions, physical conditions, mental conditions, every kind of conditions. So this is the law of nature. Tell to yourself, I also have to accept the reality. I should accept this reality. So contemplate on the reality. This is reality. I accept this reality. Old age is reality. I accept it. Sickness is reality. I accept it. Death is reality. I accept it. Not only for me, for all others, these things happen. That I accept it. And everything that comes has to pass away. This microphone, one day it will be gone. This table will be gone. This house will be gone. Some things go in few days, some things go in few years, but one day sure they must go. So this is reality, I accept. Everything has to change, everything has to breaking up in reality. So when this is the situation, if I hold on to the idea that it should be like this, it should not be like this, then I suffer. So when you start contemplating again and again, then you will start working on your emotions. Emotions are much deeper than intellect. What I am telling is now at intellectual level. However much our intellect says, but our emotions, feelings are much more deeper. So we have to go deeply. But we start with this intellectual part and then start feeling little by little and go to emotional part. So that is in day-to-day this one. But ultimately, if you really want to overcome, then you have to do Vipassana meditation. That is the only way, where you go deeply to the emotional aspects, realize the true nature, and you uproot. So, when this unpleasant, so when you see some suffering, your heart vibrates. Vibrates for what? Oh, I should do something to remove that suffering. So that should be our approach. So we are seeing so much of suffering, whether it is from the past conditions or whether it is present conditions, that doesn't matter. The fact is they are suffering. So what can I do? Physically, can I do something? Verbally, can I do something? In whatever way help, do that. If you can't do anything, mentally you can do. Do this Maitri meditation. Give them strong love. May you be free from this suffering. When you project again and again, surely it will have some effect. So that positive approach we have to develop. It is disheartening, no doubt. In the world, suffering is there and suffering is increasing, and more than that, we are able to hear more and more suffering because of information technology. We have created information technology, now take that information. We are the victims of information. So in future there may be a time when we have to start the technology for uninformation, to remove information, not to get information.
Is like continuation of this, is karma and the suffering from an individual, or is there such a thing as a communal,
Collective.
collective karma, like
Yes.
Syria is suffering now, after 9/11
yes.
in America,
Yes.
like thousands together, is there
There is.
Bangladesh always suffering?
There is. You see, karma is what? Intentional action. When you produce an intention, that is a force. It is a potential energy which has the potency to produce a result. That is karma. And with that intention, you may think, you may speak, or you may do. Kaya, vacha, manasa. You may act. So that is called karma, which can produce result. Not all actions are karma. Not the results of karmas are karma. People say, oh, it is my karma, it is my this and that, hanebara, and hanebara. No, karma means very specific definition of karma is intentional action. Now that is done individually. We do individually our intentional action. But we do collectively also. Collectively, family together, we decide something to do. Socially, a whole community gets together. Now say you all got together, okay, let us do some service, let us help some people. So you go there or give money or do something collectively. And an army goes with 5,000, 10,000, sometimes 100,000 people at a time with one intention. What is that? Go and kill, harm. So they go and start war and they kill. Now this is collective karma. Though individually, but every individual is coordinating in creating a collective force which inflicts immense amount of suffering. Now when that result comes, that also comes in collective. At a time, hundreds of thousands of people suffer. Or an earthquake happens, hundreds of thousands of people die. Aeroplane falls down, hundreds of people die. Collectively. You see, when it is possible to create collective karmic force, it is also positive to get collective results. So that is how it works.
Swamiji, our volitional action produces karma.
Yeah,
Unintentional action does not produce.
does not produce.
But the volition and unintentional action itself is a matter of my intellect. If somebody does not recognize that I am doing volitionally,
It is not a matter of somebody recognizing or not recognizing. The law of karma recognizes. The moment you produce intention, you already produced an amount of energy. And that energy has the capacity to produce result. So if the intention is positive one, wholesome, good, kushala, punya karma, it will produce happiness. If it is unwholesome, which we call papa karma or unskillful, it has to produce suffering. And what is that which makes wholesome and unwholesome? Lord Buddha was very specific. And what is that? Psychological roots. The psychological roots greed, hatred, ignorance. These are called unwholesome psychological roots. In any intention, if there is greed or hatred, hatred means dislike, resentment, frustration, irritation, impatience, sadness, fear, all these contain that element of hate. I don't want, I don't like. All these mental states. So they're all hate rooted. So also greed, wanting, desire, craving, attachment, all these have greed as their essence. And when you don't know, when you are not aware, when you don't know or wrongly know, then ignorance. So in any intention, if any one of these three or two of them is there, then that intention becomes unwholesome intention. And that karma becomes unwholesome karma. And it is called unwholesome because it produces suffering. 2 times it produces suffering. One is the moment it arises, in this very moment. When there is greed, you are not a satisfied person. When there is hatred, you are not a satisfied person. When you are ignorant, you are not a satisfied person. You are unsatisfied, dissatisfied. So suffering here and now. And when we do karma with that, when it produces result, it produces its own kind, again suffering. So this is what makes difference. So wholesome have the generosity root, love and compassion root, and wisdom root. The opposite of greed is generosity, opposite of hatred is love and compassion, opposite of ignorance is wisdom. So any intention with these positive roots will make us to perform wholesome action. So this karma is our intentional creation. It is not somebody's will. It is not some God's will. Some people say, oh, God has wished it, that's why I have done this. No. It is our own production. We are responsible and we can create our happiness, we can create our suffering. So our destiny is in our hands.